Let's bring in for perspective now June O'Neill. She's a former director of the Congressional Budget Office, and she's now a professor at Baruch College. Thanks for coming in today.
Oh, my pleasure.
So we have this new support behind the initiative. It doesn't mean anything's going to be executed at this point, but is signing on principle to this enough? Because you're kind of skeptical about this plan.
No, I'm not. The plan has a lot of food for thought, and it's not clear, what the purpose was. But I'm sure one of the purposes was to draw the attention of the American people to the really serious problem of the looming debt burden that we can't sustain. And this is, there are many good things in this proposal. Obviously, no one will like it all, but it's also not a legislative package. A vote doesn't mean that you're voting for a piece of legislation. In fact, a couple of the members are not going to be there in the coming term. So it's more, I guess, an endorsement of, do you basically go along with the idea? Not clear to me. But what's really important is what happens even if they don't get enough votes. It may have considerable use, since this was a body appointed by the president. And although there are other commissions that have come out with proposals, many of them have similar aspects to them. And nonetheless, this one does have the president's sort of blessing in a way to proceed. Now, nobody knows how Mr. Obama is going to react to it, whether he himself will say, well, I would have voted for this. He may not. And the real question is what's going to happen next.
Right. If it moves into the new Congress, in terms of actually shaping what might be on the table for cuts or for changes there, what should be added in?
Well, I think there are parts of it, that will obviously be used to frame both short-run needs as well as long-term. The one disappointment I found was that there wasn't enough detail about Medicare. Our biggest problem for the long term is Medicare, because Medicare has been increasing very rapidly, and once all the baby boomers are retired, it's going to be a really huge problem, and not so far in the future as Social Security, but one that is looming. When people talk about health care costs, they don't really mean total expenditures, what you and I and everybody else is spending. That's gone up a huge amount. But Medicare is what the federal dollars, and there actually two of the members of this commission, Alice Rivlin and Paul Ryan, have an excellent plan for restructuring Medicare that I hope would get serious attention.
So beyond the payroll tax holiday, that's the part of the Rivlin plan you'd like added in?
No, not the payroll tax holiday.
You don't like that part of Rivlin's plan?
Not that part of it. No, the Rivlin-Ryan is the part about Medicare. Medicare really can't go on in its current form. The only way to control federal spending is through some kind of a voucher program, which is what they endorse. Medicaid is second in terms of serious long-term budget issue. And there they have an idea for block granting Medicaid, which would mean giving each state an amount to live with, which is sort of the way we went with welfare reform. That Medicaid is bigger, but nonetheless, I think that's the only way to get a handle on Medicaid.
Well, you were working in the CBO at the White House under the Clinton administration when there was deficit and there was, real pressure on the economy. At what point, beyond, signing on to a vote like this today, where do we get to the point where the markets demand and the public really demands some action?
Well, this whole plan couldn't possibly be one single piece of legislation. It's just impossible. It covers too many fronts. It has a lot of good things to say about reforming, restructuring the tax system. I think that's a separate kind of thing. There are different committees in Congress, different parts of the federal government, would be dealing with that. But it's hard to all roll it up into one ball. So talking about a vote, I think that what they must mean, are you sort of in line with this style of thinking?